And so it seems that Square is sharing an archaically out-of-touch legal department with Nintendo. G'day, ZiggyD here, and today I want to give you guys my thoughts on the monetization issues surrounding Square Enix and Final Fantasy XIV at the moment. I just finished up watching Mr. Happy's video on it and seeing his stance. It was very interesting, and a bunch of my subscribers have also requested how I'm approaching the issue and some of my thoughts on it. So, a while back, you guys might remember that Nintendo did go on a copyright rampage. They decided that it would be a good idea to claim pretty much any monetized Nintendo content, or any Nintendo content on YouTube, really. And this forced out a lot of indie people. Like, it crashed a lot of indie people's YouTube channels. They're no longer able to make YouTube videos, and these were die-hard loyal Nintendo fans. And also a lot of major YouTubers as well were forced to either stop covering Nintendo or boycott Nintendo entirely. Like, people like Turtle Biscuit for now will never ever touch a Nintendo title again. So it's pretty obvious the huge impact this has had on Nintendo. And if you search for new Nintendo games footage, you find two types of footage now. You find officially sanctioned and paid for content, or you find really indie stuff that's just made by the diehard fans who aren't monetizing or anything like that. So there's that lack of, quality, unbiased, impartial content in the middle. And this is probably what's going to be happening with Square as well. So unfortunately, people like myself and Mr. Happy have put a lot into preparing for the launch of Final Fantasy XIV. We both saw the potential of the game, we both played the game and saw how awesome it was, and it is a really awesome game, and I was really excited to cover it. And especially Mr. Happy, more so than myself, is super invested in this game in terms of building up their YouTube channel and, possibly earning a living out of doing this, out of providing content for people. And, this would all be to Square's benefit, especially if you go look at Mr. Happy's channel. He's been putting months and months of content in the lead up to this game, and has, sold countless people on the game. I'm sure many people have purchased the game based on his content, and now he's pretty much forced to not be able to earn a living off his videos. So let's go back a little bit, pull back a little bit, and talk about what the actual issue is. Now, lots of companies say that you shouldn't commercialize their content of their, you shouldn't record and commercialize their content, and that's pretty standard, really. However, fair use covers this. You're allowed to make reviews, you're allowed to make, educational commentaries on games. Things like Let's Plays are really grey, and that's why I tend to stay away from them, unless it's a company like Grinding Gear Games, who I have a good relationship with. But in general, I tend to stay clear of Let's Plays and focus on really educational content, which is protected by fair use. However, Square have taken the approach of, and let me read this here, very explicitly stating, you may not monetize your video via the YouTube Partner Program or any similar programs or on other video sharing sites. They've also gone on to add in other things like, you may not combine or synchronize the materials with third-party content. So that prevents people from doing like musical mashups, all that really fun content that comes out of when you have a bunch of fans really into a game. So they're very explicitly stating they don't want that stuff, and they're really painting their viewpoint on, having people cover their game and do it, for a living. Having the people that do it for a living, like, myself and the bigger YouTubers, Total Biscuit and all that, who won't be covering the game because of this. They've very clearly painted their intentions towards those people. Now, I have talked pretty extensively to my network about this, and while I still feel I am protected by fair use, and indeed legally I am protected by fair use, YouTube does have a habit of backing down to pressure from publishers, like was the example with Nintendo. Everyone who made Nintendo content, well, most people who made Nintendo content were protected by fair use, and their content was allowed to be monetized by them. But YouTube tends to back down from pressure, and Nintendo pressured YouTube, and a lot of people lost their accounts as a result. So the same thing could indeed happen with Square. Now, what I've done at the moment is only claimed the audio of my 2 Final Fantasy videos I have up at the moment. So that means I'm essentially saying, the audio commentary is mine, I'm claiming that, I'm monetizing the videos based on that. If Square wants to come along and claim the visual components of that video, because, it is their copyright, they're well within their rights to try and do that, then they can have some revenue share. They can have some of my advertising revenue. That's fine. But, in the meantime, I'm still able to potentially, try and earn a little bit of a living off this. Like, it's a bit hard to be throwing my time at a game like Final Fantasy if I'm potentially not going to be earning any money off it, since I'm trying really hard to push this to a point where I can earn a living off it so I can, do this full time. But yeah, that's I don't know if that's enough. Firstly, even if that is enough, I don't even know if I want to continue to cover a game. I don't know if I can continue to cover a game that you know, is being put out there by a company that is so out of touch like this, that is so you know, unwilling to see the positives and the benefits of having a bunch of people cover their game like this. And you know, with seeing everyone else boycott it, I'm not sure if I want to continue to cover it, which is a damn shame. Firstly, because the game is really sick, and I was really looking forward to covering it. Secondly, because I was really looking forward to this as an opportunity to practice going about covering an MMO. Potentially in the future, I want to cover more MMOs. I might want to cover Elder Scrolls Online. I might want to cover WildStar. Those both look like really cool games I could get into covering. And this was a really good trial run for me to see how I go about playing and covering an MMO. But yeah. And as I said, I put a lot of investment behind the scenes in preparing for the launch of this game, doing a lot of research, playing a lot of the closed beta, getting really personally involved in it as well, like getting really exciting, you know, getting a bunch of friends together to play with Guardian Gaming and things like that. But yeah, I'm not really too sure what I'll actually be doing in terms of whether I'll be continuing to cover the game yet or not. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on it, whether it's you know, whether it's worth continuing to cover a game by a company that's doing things like this. I guess what it all really comes down to is I can create and monetize Final Fantasy XIV content. I can attempt to earn a living off, you know, doing that. I'm legally protected in doing that. My work is transformative. It's, you know, it's covered under fair use legally. However, because YouTube does have a history of backing down to pressure from publishers, and because Square has so clearly painted their intention to do so, to pressure YouTube, you know, possibly, is it really worth me personally taking the risk to cover their games? Like, sure, I can, you know, this is a really cool game, and a really cool game I want to cover, and it's a good opportunity for me to learn how to cover an MMO properly, but is it worth risking my livelihood to do so? Yeah, I don't really know about that, so I don't know. I don't quite know yet what I'll be doing. I'll be taking a little bit more time to think on it. Maybe I'll go talk to Mr. Happy a bit and see what he thinks. And yeah, but I'd like to encourage you guys, if you think this is pretty crappy, and you know, if you're a Final Fantasy XIV fan and are pretty annoyed about the fact that you won't be able to go on the YouTubes and search for Final Fantasy XIV content and have a bunch of really cool content show up, you're just going to have, you know, very occasional video show up instead. If you're annoyed by that, I encourage you to, you know, publicize this issue as much as possible. Talk about it. You know, maybe get on the Square forums and ask, you know, hey, why aren't you guys supporting cool YouTubers in making content on this game? I would love to have some guides on how to build my archer and things like that, but apparently, you know, you guys don't want to keep me invested in this game, so maybe I won't continue subscribing. I don't know, I encourage you guys to go ahead and, you know, talk about this as much as possible, because maybe I still hold hope that Square will see that, you know, maybe this isn't such a good idea, but, you know, Nintendo didn't do that. Nintendo haven't changed their mind on that. I don't know what's going on with these archaic Japanese video game companies at the moment. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.